We are Legion.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Legion of Comics. It is Sunday night, so that means it's time for At Week's End, the spoiler-filled look back at this week in comics, movie shows, and so much more. There's a lot of awesome stuff to talk about, so let's not waste any time. Check this out. I want to give a quick thank you to the channel sponsor, Big Time Collectibles. If you're in the market for any awesome retailer exclusives, or if you're trying to do any final order cutoff stuff, they can definitely help you out with that. Be sure to check out their website, bigtimecollectibles.com, or follow them on Instagram or Facebook. What is going on, everybody? I'm joined tonight, as always, by my man, Ryan, a.k.a. the Cosmic Campfire, a.k.a. New Guy. How are you doing tonight?
Doing good, man.
Awesome.
Trying to finish up a book real quick, but doing fine.
Well, then I'll take my time with the introductions for everyone else.
All right.
Also tonight, because it's football season, we're going to be seeing a lot less of a lot of people on YouTube, which is awesome because it works out perfectly because we got my main man with pots and pans down there, Mr. Beckerman. How are you doing tonight?
Hi, everybody. I'm not the comic vet.
You are not, but I was definitely excited to ask you to hop on here again because I know that you and I, you share a lot of the same pools that I do, as well as you watch some of the same shows that I do that I don't normally get to break down and talk about much tonight. So thank you so much for being here. And also, we're joined by the Mr. Temporal Displacement himself, the promiscuous time traveler, aka Kyle. Anyone who watches my channel has definitely seen him before. He's around a lot. He's been pestering me to come on to this show specifically. Every other show that he pops up on that I do is not good enough. It's this one specifically because he wants to spar with Ryan over indie titles, which this is a perfect week to do it because I actually read a lot of indie titles this week. So hopefully we'll be able to cover some of that as well. I don't see why we shouldn't.
I also braided my hair for your show.
Oh, that's awesome. You're in battle mode.
Yep. I'm ready to go.
You look like an anorexic Viking.
Thank you. I worked really hard on
So just to give Ryan just a little bit more time, I do want to remind everybody that the channel membership is now live. If you're interested in becoming a channel member, there's a blue button down below next to subscribe and all that other stuff that says join. You can just hit that and get details on what it means. But a couple of things, you get loyalty badges. You also get custom emojis to use on the channel, as well as you can get an entry into the monthly giveaway that's sponsored by Big Time Collectibles, who we mentioned earlier. So there's that. And let's say hey to the chat real quick. Looks like some people have popped in there. We got Nick's Kicks and Comics in there. What is going on? He's here for the Bills-Chief game. The game that fractured the show. That's it. Wheelchair Superhero 87, how are you doing tonight? We got Ruby G, a.k.a. White Tiger, comics, cartridges, and collectibles. DJ Links is up in the chat, throwing those custom emojis. Appreciate that. I definitely enjoy those emojis. They're fun. They're fun. Mars Comics, hello, hello. How are you doing? Paul Rogers, as always, thank you for popping up. We got SSG SS up in the chat. Digger Jim, thank you for being here. Chop and Drop 2013. Good evening. Good evening. Doom, 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 doom. And it's bouncing around. All right. And we have Flash Ray video. What is going on? We are Legion. So I appreciate the 10 people that have already popped in. All right. So right off the bat, what's good? What's new? Anything that's standing out that you guys want to hit real quick? There was no crazy comic news that dropped this week, really, that I know of.
No.
No.
No, so nothing.
Somebody announced their Substack content is going to be free.
All of it?
Yeah, like maybe it was Scotty Young. Basically, he like put out a free newsletter saying like that he's going to do his. No, it wasn't Scotty Young because he does.
Was it Scott Snyder?
No.
The only reason I said I saw where he was posting online where he was at some event. Like
It's
he was,
Comicsology is what.
oh, that's where his is. Okay.
Yeah.
I find
it's
it hard to
all
believe
about
that Scotty
October.
Young did anything for free.
Big thank you to Flo Dameron. We got a $4.99 super chat. We are Legion. Appreciate that. Austin LeMay, hello. Miss So's
But
in
yeah,
the
it was
chat.
just a weird
Carolina
like
Christmas
newsletter,
fan.
like, hey, I'm gonna put everything out for free, so you don't have to pay for it. I was like, okay.
How would that person be getting paid? Whoever this unknown person is.
I think he's gonna put out like more content that is gonna be paid, like more comics. He kind of described it as like he felt like the value wasn't quite there, and so he's just gonna like give away everything he had planned for free because he's got better ideas for the paid stuff.
Mm.
And his plan is volume.
I guess so.
Just a volume of free transactions.
But
Just one.
Scott Snyder did come out with his Comicsology thing. He just released his first title. I think it's called We Have Demons. And if you're an Amazon Prime member, you could read it for free. But otherwise, it's only on the Comicsology app. And people have been saying good things about it, at least.
You just sign in through Comicsology with your same Amazon account, or how does that work?
I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure that you get it through Amazon, and then they have buy it via Kindle or buy it via Comicsology through Amazon. That's how I normally get my digital content, at least. So
Amazon bought Comicsology like 2 years ago or something, but they have maintained Comicsology and Amazon. So basically, you could have a Comicsology account or an Amazon account. But just recently, they deprecated down and did away with Comicsology as its own independent company. So now it's like full on Amazon. And if you already had a Comicsology account, you could merge it to your Amazon account. But now they just basically forced it all into Amazon. So, and
there's
like some perks with,
there's
some perks with Amazon Prime and stuff now.
Yep.
But Scott Snyder, he got that big deal with Comicsology.
He has 8 books coming out.
Yeah, so he's got like 8 books he's working on, and the first issues come out this month, October.
Yep.
But other than the fact that it's digital, it's basically like a traditional distribution method. So they'll be coming out once a month on Comicsology, and then Dark Horse will be publishing the print copies, I think, like 6 months after they release on Comicsology.
Yeah,
so we're kind of in the middle of this, in the middle phase where they're not fully committing to one or the other. They want new readers to start trying out this digital stuff, but they still don't want to cut out everybody else. So
and they use the big name to get people into it. So
yeah, I'm at a weird place where like I'm trying to do more digital reading, and I pretty much just take advantage of it for the stuff that I normally wouldn't give a try to, or just it's one of those things like if I have time during the week, you don't have to drive to your store to go get it. Like if I'm just sitting there. So there's some weeks when I hit a few more things digital, or some weeks when I might just read one thing digital, and then I forget that I read it half the time. And this is the first week that I remembered that I forget, so I wrote a sticky note that I put it on my laptop, so I didn't forget to remember.
Heck yeah!
Big thank you to Dark Family 54 Comics for the $4.99 super chat. It's Morphin Time and 2 Chiefs. Damn,
Two Chiefs, Steve.
2 Chiefs. That's a battle cry now. They're all in their huddle. They're getting ready to run out on the field. 2 Chiefs. What's up, Legionnaires? Getting here late. What on this? Can y'all start?
Yes.
You didn't miss anything. So we just learned the battle cry for the football team, the Chiefs. that's pretty much it so far.
We
Two
are
Chiefs.
the Legionnaires. Thank you, Pop.
Go Chiefs. It sounds
that makes more sense.
a lot of big indie titles are starting to rival most Marvel titles in sales. I can't really speak on that. I have a hard time imagining that though whatsoever. We do have an LCS owner in the chat. What is his thoughts on how ordering goes, like volume wise? Are the independent titles starting to catch up with just the generic ordering for the big two yet?
I wouldn't say individually, like an individual company, but like if you were to combine like Boom and Image, then yeah, they have a shot to compete. So
I can see that. I can definitely see that. If you make indie its whole category,
Yeah.
That's just unfair, anyways, because there's just
It's
more.
3 slices of a
So
pie,
many.
then
Yeah.
Yeah, there are a lot of indies out there. Well, that's good news, I guess, for digital fans. And we were talking about this just a few minutes ago, Kyle, but I feel like we're at this weird time era where you have people that are younger than myself that are more okay and comfortable with digital platform and reading that way or consuming their content that way. They're also coming from an era like where movies are 90, probably 100% digital for them. They see them on the big screen, then they just watch them streaming. They don't care to own hard copies. So like they're growing up completely fine with owning nothing. Whereas I'm at that weird era where I want my Blu-rays, I want my DVDs, I want my floppy comics, but I'm trying the digital stuff out. And what really did it for me was the DCU app. That's what really did it for me, because I got that for the streaming service initially, but started dabbling in the comics that were included in it. And I even kept my subscription to it when they stopped with the streaming stuff, because I don't use it often, but I still get my money's worth out of it.
Now,
So
if you were to get a good app that actually had a good user interface, would you be more inclined to use it? Because I don't think there's anything out there right now.
This is a fantastic interface. It really is. Like, and I read on a tablet that's the size of a comic. So it's nothing to do with the format. It's 100% me. I know that. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just, for one, thinking to go to a tablet to read a comic is still not natural at all.
Yeah, fair enough.
I just can't get into it.
I'll tell you one thing. Some books, the colors look fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Going in a dark room and turning the brightness down and reading a book that way. And then when you, I'll read a lot of stuff because I'll get excited. I'll read stuff Tuesday morning on my tablet. See, that's when I mainly remember to do it, is Tuesday morning on DC Day. So I'll read a lot of stuff that I'm about to go 2 hours later to go buy. And then I see it on paper. I'm like, this is not as vibrant.
Are you going spelunking?
This is how I read my comics.
I know. I've seen
Power
it.
shortage in California.
I tell you, man, like reading a horror comic digitally is unparalleled by the physical experience. Like, go in a nice, cool, dark room and read a horror comic on a tablet, like, it's amazing. Like, it'll suck you right in, you know?
A horror comic on a tablet. Now my mind would kind of think that that's backwards. Like,
No, because it has the backlight built in. You don't need any kind of external light.
oh yeah, because
Like,
that would just,
you
that
can
would
sit
just
in a
drown
dark,
out
like a
everything.
pitch black dark room and just read a horror comic. Like, it's immersive.
So what I was kind of leading with the immersive apps and stuff like that and good user interfaces was, does anybody on the panel, are you familiar with like Webtoons and their whole comic platform, where it's designed for the app? Like none of these, they struggle to get their content. Yeah, they struggle to get their content into print form. They have like a couple graphic novels now, but it's immersive and it's so easy to just go through.
Yeah,
and
whenever you find a creator that does a really good job of taking advantage of the vertical scroll, like,
absolutely,
dude, I've been sucked into like a 3-hour reading time on some of those. Like,
yeah, and you just casually go through it. Yeah,
at the Augusta Book Exchange, she had a local creators day where all the people in the Augusta area that are creators, go figure, local creators came and set up and everything. And there was a guy working on his book that was a digital only book he was working on. And instead of getting like a 2-page splash, he was working on this long scroll moment. And like, I was watching him color it in, and I had never seen something formatted specifically just for vertical scroll. I thought it was interesting. again, it throws my brain for a loop. Like I get more twisted up in the format difference and kind of takes me out of the story because I'm not used to it.
Yeah, that's fair.
I
And then
like
a
my
lot of them-
comics like I like my wallet, not digital.
Not digital.
Big fan of digital currency. So
there's a few apps that are kind of dabbling in like.
I know
very,
Scott's out in the
very-
chat, and he'll back me up on this.
Yeah, he's definitely he's there. Yeah.
there's another digital app that has like proprietary comics. No, not Shonen Jump.
Okay, I read my manga on Shonen Jump, so and
Yeah,
I think that
their
way ahead of the
reader's
game.
really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, there's another one. I'm struggling to think of the name right now, but it's almost like on the verge of a motion comic in a sense.
That's okay.
Like,
That's exactly what I was
they'll
about
have,
to
like,
say.
They'll have
Yep.
like basically the establishing shot, and then as you tap, the other panels pop up on top of it and
It's
stuff.
minor animations, and I know what you're talking about, but I'm not. I was literally leading the conversation into
I
that,
used to
but
be subscribed to it. It was worth it too.
Yeah, it was really cool. It was very like
What is the
slight
name of it?
animations, but it was immersive because it just
Yeah.
like opened up the next part of the story. I'll try to find it.
The only thing, anything remotely similar to that is like if you go to Google Books and buy a comic book, when you tap on it, the word bubbles just get a little bit bigger, so you know which one to read. But even then, it's not perfect. They might pull up the wrong one every now and then for you.
Yeah.
Becker's trying
Yeah.
to do so. He's like, I hate digital.
David Harper advertises it all the time on his podcast.
So getting past the digital comics stuff.
Yeah, no problem.
Kyle, do
Please.
you watch StarGirl?
No.
Well, you should. So I rarely have the opportunity to actually talk in depth about StarGirl. Each week I just kind of give like a couple of sentence rundown of what the previous episode was. But Becker here does watch StarGirl, so I do want to dive into a little bit of the aspect of this show more than I've been able to all season long, and even break down this episode and any episode you might want to kind of touch on real quick. But StarGirl has been fantastic. It does air on the CW, though it is not originally a CW show. It was one of the final shows that aired on the DCU app before they moved all their streaming stuff to different locations. You saw Harley Quinn get moved over to Sci-Fi Channel. You saw Titans and Doom Patrol go to HBO Max. Swamp Thing and StarGirl got sent to CW. So where it is produced by CW, it is not done in the style of CW. It's not technically Arrowverse at all, even though we have seen one actor reprise a role of the character, and even that still doesn't hardwire it into the Arrowverse at all. But this last episode, Jay Garrett popped up, played by John Wesley Shipp, and no way did he play it like there's nothing other than just him being the actor who did it to draw any connection to the Arrowverse. But the show's been absolutely fantastic. It has its own style, has its own tone. It makes you feel like you are in kind of an intentional classic era superhero thing because it is the JSA we're dealing with. But what do you think of the show, Becker? Because you just binged it all up to this point, right?
It's pretty awesome. No, I'm so glad you recommended this show to me. I would have never checked it out on my own. 100%. I was we were talking before the chat, and I'm trying to recapture everything I said then. I was a big Starman fan in the 90s when it was Jack Knight. The most I liked about the present StarGirl is that, Jack Knight passed the torch to her. And I read some of the early stuff. I read her Stars and Stripes stuff. Yeah, actually, my wife watches StarGirl and she watches Nothing Comics.
See, and me and every single Wednesday, I come home. Me and my wife come home from work. I get Zaxby's on the way home, and we set up shop. We all sit on the couch with the TV trays, and we watch StarGirl while we eat first thing. It's like our routine now. We love it. Whole family.
Yeah, it's just a really easy because you don't have to have watched anything or read anything or seen anything. It's so self-contained. I got out of the Arrowverse pretty early, but it just sprawled so bad, and I don't want to have to watch 6 hours of TV a week.
And Nick's Kicks and Comics said he just put his wife in the StarGirl costume.
Perfect.
And then he painted himself bright yellow.
I only wear Harley.
Yeah.
But anyway, I know I was real long-winded there, but I checked it out, and I actually stopped it 20 minutes into the first episode and had to rewind so that I could rewatch it all again. So it's like, oh, this is going to be good. I need to I need to give it my attention.
Yeah, feel free to be long-winded because I don't know when we'll get to really break down StarGirl much again. But yeah, we mentioned it earlier. Like, I didn't expect it to open up and really commit to the level that it did, because when it opens up, it's in a flashback, and you see Pat or Stripesy hauling tail to the scene of a battle, and the first thing you see is the green flame just flying out of the building. So you know that you have like Alan Scott like right off the bat, and you get little clips of original JSA members. And the show mainly focuses on like the second generation JSAers. You know, it was Justice Inc., right?
I get heavy like Roy Thomas vibes off this show, Infinity Inc.
Infinity Inc., yeah.
That kind of stuff. What was the other one? All-Star Squadron or whatever?
Yeah, that's where a lot of these characters made their first appearance.
Yeah, but then it mixes well into the JSA run of the 90s. That was so good. Late 90s, early 2000s. What a great series! But if you haven't watched it yet, get on this show, guys. Like, it's
so
definitely...
the second season they lean into Eclipso, which hasn't been done in any television properties yet, and they're doing them very, very well. Like, they've even already brought up like the Spectre, which in his lore, like, this is the original Spectre that God couldn't even keep in check, so he lost the job, you know. And then that's when the Spectre came in to be the wrath of God himself. But they're doing him super well. He looks comic, like all these characters, the way they're done are comic accurate. So some people see it at first, say it looks kind of cheesy, but then when you see it in motion and you see it in the feel of the show, it's exactly what it's supposed to be. But Eclipso is menacing. This show looks lighthearted, but I swear about every episode a kid gets murdered. A child dies somewhere, or they're parading around a dead kid somewhere in the show, like just to remind you that it's not lighthearted.
He's a horrible person.
Yeah, my wife hates Eclipso. Every time this little kid pops up, this creepy little kid, or this Dr. Midnight's dead daughter that he's just walking around as for no good reason. Because at this point in the show, like it showed a flashback where he killed Dr. Midnight's daughter, and then flash forward to present day, you see this dead little girl that it's really him, but he's pretending to be a dead little girl to start strife between the members. And he chose to embody Dr. Midnight's dead daughter, which no one else recognizes. Just for his own pleasure, he would rather be that dead kid than any other form he could take. Like, he's twisted.
See, I didn't know if we were going to go full spoilers here or what. I didn't know what the rules were.
Full spoilers.
All right. No, I've enjoyed season 2. I thought it picked right up. It's so good. I'm trying to think. So what was the last? Oh, when Eclipso goes after her family. Yeah, the Stripesy stuff was awesome. When he's trapped down there, and you get and that's the thing. They keep going back and giving you snippets of what happened to the original JSA and like how we got to where we're at. It's done very well, not in an annoying Arrow sort of way.
Yeah, and that's one thing that the actress who plays Courtney Whitmore was asked what makes this show different than the rest of the stuff on TV, and she talks about how, well, most of the shows you deal with a story, a villain in each episode. In ours, we're dealing with one villain for the season, so it just plays out like a long formatted story, which, you know, that's how like back in like the early 2000s and stuff, like if you could watch like regular television and see it, one episode, one story, but you have HBO or Showtime, you get like a story through a season. Like, I don't know which way is called serialized or which way is episodic. I don't know which is which, but this one is more like formatted like paid TV shows were, and it works out a lot better.
Our question.
What's the question?
How'd you do with the Arrowverse comment? You're talking about the first season? Because I thought that was the best.
Yeah, a lot of people like the first season of Arrow. It just got beat down real fast.
Yeah, it got real sketchy real fast.
Yeah, real sketchy real
fast. They were doing those like flashbacks.
I was there.
Yeah, my wife was a big fan of the Arrow show while they were still doing the flashbacks on the island. I think most people were, though.
Yeah, I thought it was good. I stopped watching some point around the end of the Deathstroke stuff.
Yeah, that was season 2. And then season 3 was Damien
First two
Dark.
seasons are really good for what they are. I mean, they're not going to win some awards, but they were worth watching.
Yeah. So Jim made a good point here. So we got in this most recent episode of StarGirl. So for the past few, we've kind of seen it highlight a different member of the team and how Eclipso has been going in and breaking down that person individually and just fracturing the team and just for his own amusement, because he could just go for the whole team all at once. There's really nothing they can do at this point. But so when he gets to Courtney's house, you have StarGirl and Stripesy in the same household. The whole time that Eclipso is in Stripesy's head, he's flashing back to the moment that broke up the JSA, and that's when they fought Eclipso in the past. And Eclipso killed one of their members. He killed Dr. Midnight's daughter, and they were having to make a decision on how to stop him because they tried, they couldn't do it. They called in the Spectre, he couldn't do it. So they did find out that if you kill the host, that'll put Eclipso back in the diamond. So they went into a vote, and Jay Garrett voted no. Pat Dugan and Stripesy voted no, and the rest of them voted yes. So Pat was forced to drive Starman to the home of the host of Eclipso, Bruce, and kill him. And that's what fractured the team and dissolved it. So it was a really, really dark episode, and getting to see these characters go down this path that you saw that they didn't want to go down, but they felt forced to go down and knew what it would do to them as a team. It was rough to watch. It was a very rough episode.
That's kind of a cool
What's
story.
up, Hidden Jim?
Hey.
It is.
Kind of the same, so
I cannot recommend this show enough to people. If you're thinking like, oh, I don't really care for the Arrowverse stuff, it's not. It's on CW. That's all there is to it. It's over there, and you can't even really knock that production company anymore. I mean, the Arrowverse stuff is still happening, like with Batwoman and stuff like that, but we just got Superman and Lois, where he recognized that these shows have to do something different to get the audience to stay and bring in new people. And Superman and Lois was amazing. Like it was not cookie cutter CW stuff at all. And then this show has just been fantastic as well.
I wasn't even aware of that show.
You have, oh my God, it is so good, man.
Last time
It
I
is
watched
so good.
CW. Jeez.
Is that wooden looking guy? The new Superman, the CW Superman?
Yeah, I thought so. It's the same actor from the Supergirl show, but I really feel like they crapped on him in that because they're front running Supergirl, and she watched Supergirl through all this. But this show takes place in its own future, like the same way that StarGirl is. Like they have grown kids already when the show starts. They're back in Smallville for reasons they get into. They call back to the Fleischer Studios Superman cartoon in the beginning of it. Then they call back to Chris Reeves all through the first episode to set the tone for this show. So it's almost like if you take Chris Reeves' Superman and you fast forward it to its inevitable conclusion of him and Lois play it out. That's what you get.
Okay.
It's awesome.
Well,
I didn't even know
the
it was
guy that
CW.
plays Superman looks wooden. Like
See, you would think so.
Geppetto made him,
Superman.
I
and
said
then
that forever,
they got
but-
some blue fairy dust, but there wasn't enough. And so like the process didn't take fully. And you just have this like half wooden, half man
It's like
moving
if
around and
Pinocchio
doing
was
things.
almost the boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, and I thought that too, and I never got into Supergirl because I thought it was hokey, and I just wasn't a fan of it. But I'm like, dude, this is Superman's getting his own show, and I saw like how they were kind of just visually it looked good, so I gave it a shot. And dude, from that first episode, I felt like an idiot for doubting it. But again, they leave the past behind and they just start anew. It just happens to be the same actor and actress. But dude, if I remember, I wouldn't tell you to watch. I would not tell anybody to go watch The Flash because I couldn't do it in good conscience. You know what I'm saying? But I'm telling you, give Superman a try.
Okay. Yeah, no problem.
I worry is that they're going to CW it. For some
Yeah,
season
who
two.
knows what will happen after a few seasons?
I think I
but
like
at least you have a
season
good-
1 of Flash.
Oh, yeah, I like season 1.
Season one of all of them are great.
Yeah, and season 2 started pretty good, but by the end of it, you're like, okay.
That's all I watched was the first 2 seasons. I didn't feel any kind of pressure to go back.
The
Dude,
best
second season had some
cosplay,
good stuff.
one of my favorite cosplays I've ever seen was a guy dressed up as the Grant, whatever his name is, Flash, and he was carrying a sign around C2E2 that said, "Keep changing timelines until she loves you."
For all you know, that was Louis, and you just weren't aware of it at the time. He has that costume. So you guys want to talk some books that came out this week, or we're about 30.
Sorry, Jim.
Poor Barry. That's really what happens to all the Arrowverse shows is they lean too much into the drama aspect and they don't have good enough writers to create new drama. So it's just repetitive drama.
Let's talk some books.
Let's talk some books.
Yeah, let's do it.
So we have Ryan and Kyle here that are going to be a little indie heavy. And then me and Mr. Becker here who are going to be not as indie heavy. Even though I'm more indie heavy this week than I am normally, I'm still probably not going to stack up.
Cool. I know where we can start though.
Okay.
It was the book that was tied for my pick of the week. I couldn't discern between the two, and it was a Righteous Thirst for Vengeance.
Oh, most
read
of us
that.
read that, yeah.
And that book was cool. That book was really, really cool. Like the whole show don't tell thing was done immaculately in that book. Like,
Well, this is a full spoiler show, so give a quick rundown synopsis, and then we'll go from there.
You see this guy who's on a journey that he's just trying to get somewhere, and he obviously doesn't have much money, so he takes the bus, and it's raining. It's just like his small encounters with people. Like he needs he lets these old people go ahead of him, and then their umbrella's broken. But like he doesn't have an umbrella, and then the guy looks back at him and he's like, "You should get an umbrella," and he's like, "Yeah, I've heard that." And like it's so like the little things that he does.
He had all bad luck through his whole day, running into people.
He was trying to get off the bus, and people were like trying to shove their way like in front of him. Like it's just simple things that happen in real life. And then he gets all pissed off, and then he bumps into this dude in the grocery store. And he's like, "You know what? I'm sick and tired of bumping." And then he's like, "Oh, wait a second. Like, oh, I'm sorry, man. Like, I've just had kind of a rough day," and he helps him pick his stuff up. And it was and then he finally gets to his like, oh man, no, I skipped a part. There's a very important part. He sees this kid at the bus stop, and he's looking at a bird. I think it was a dove. And the dove is obviously struggling, and it's not doing
It's actively
so good.
dying.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and the kid is going through like this like really intense like moral dilemma. Like, what do I do? Do I kill the bird? And obviously it's gonna die. Do I put it out of its misery? But like, what if I mess up and I have to like beat it a bunch of times? And he's like, I just don't get why it's my responsibility. And the guy, the main character, I don't even think we don't even have a name for him, is standing there thinking about this. He gets on the bus, and then he ends up getting back off the bus and killing the bird. He just smashes it.
He stomps on it.
Yeah, and blood goes everywhere. And then he waits for the next bus, takes the bus, gets to his destination, knocks on the door, nobody's there. And he rings the doorbell, whatever, and then he just casually tries the doorknob, and he goes, "Hey, I'm looking for blah, blah, blah." And these people are brutally murdered. And
no one answers the door. He lets himself in.
Yeah.
I
He
think those are
just
probably
tries
some
the door, and
important parts, because this is where the book took the weird turn.
And you don't know why he's there.
Nope. We just see that he has the directions on his phone, and he's mapping out how to get there. And he walks in. These people are just like, one guy is like tied up, and he has a bottle of Drano going down his throat. And
Does the bottle of Drano look familiar?
Yeah, in fact, it does. The bottle of Drano, he remembers bumping into the dude in the grocery store and helping him pick up his stuff. And one of the things that he bought was Drano. And he leaves. Obviously, he starts like, what would you do if you walked into a murder scene? You start cleaning everything. So he takes a thing, he handles off like all the door handles, he's wiping down and wiping everything off, and then he rushes out and leaves. And then he forgot one very pivotal thing, and that he still had blood on his shoe from smashing the dove.
So I'm going to give a shorter review of it in one sentence.
Go for it.
No good deed goes unpunished.
Yeah, no doubt. But it's just so beautiful. Like, you have to walk through all those steps to get to that point. I can't talk about the book enough because there's no words. It's just
Yeah,
all drawings. Like it's such good storytelling.
And just to add a little bit to it, when he gets to the house is when it really starts going crazy because he walks through the house looking for the people, whoever it is he's looking for.
Yep.
Abe, it's on the computer, buddy. Every time that horn beeps, my dog barks. But when he walks through the house and he opens the bedroom door looking for whoever it is he's looking for, and it tries to lead us to believe that he doesn't expect to find them in this condition, but they're naked, tied to chairs, and it looks like they have little miniature bottles broken and stabbed in them, like all through them, and like underwears by their ankles, all kinds of stuff.
Yep.
But they're in really rough shape, and he freaks out and runs out of the room into the kitchen, and he goes to grab a towel, and he turns around, and for a second he sees a flashback of the guy who he ran into in the store with the items that are now present all in this house. So, and then he turns around and looks. And for my first read through, I thought he like just going panel by panel. I thought he ran into that guy legit in that house. And then he turns around and it's like the guy's gone. But as he's walking out, you see that his feet are covered in blood. He's leaving his own bloody footprints all through the house. And it actually shows his shoes before he even gets into the room were already bloody. So he definitely has to be the one that kills it from what I'm assuming, right?
Yeah, I mean that's at least where they're leading us. I mean, it was just a very like thought-provoking comic because we're so used to having like stuff like being told to us and plot points being told to us is refreshing. I thought it was a refreshing comic book.
Oh, this is a really cool perspective. I haven't read the book but from what everyone has said about it, I wonder if he is a malfunctioning Jason Bourne and we're only seeing one personality.
Yeah. I mean, he went to a store, but then there's cooked food. There was a teapot that was like over boiling or over steaming or whatever it's called. And there was like actual cooked food that like they had like a meal that they were preparing. And these people were just bound and murdered in their house.
Yeah, it definitely warrants an issue 2 reading when it gets here. Ryan, did you read this one?
Nuh-uh.
What'd you read this week? You got the next book then. What do you got?
Devil Chicken.
Devil Chicken. That one was
Chicken Devil, yeah.
Chicken Devil?
I definitely enjoyed that one. So I actually
like that.
Found the A cover and a variant for it. I grabbed both.
Heck yeah. The A cover is a little misleading. It looks cool though.
I think it's foreshadowing.
Okay, that's fair.
Oh.
What do you think of it, Ron?
I enjoyed it. I mean, one, the name interested me. I'm also a big fan of Hayden Sherman. He did the art on Thumbs back in 2019. One of my favorite series ever. Very well written. And the art carried it very well. And so I was like, all right, Hayden Sherman has a new book out. Like, I definitely want to check this out. And it starts out like very mundane. I was like, I don't know how into this I am. But like they were making references to like real life stuff, but not like in a meta way. Like, and like how cliche is this stuff happening? And so like it was like, okay, I'm kind of bored with this, but I think I'm supposed to be. And then like that midpoint, like that midpoint turn, I was just like, holy shit, I am in on this. Like,
now, what was the midpoint turn? Give a little synopsis of what's going on for people who might not have read it and spoil away.
Well, like they're basically like running a restaurant, and they have like these super machines that like fry chicken in a very special way.
The air fryer.
Yeah, and so like basically like his business partner burns down the warehouse where they're storing these machines, and they're like selling drugs through the chicken buckets, and that's kind of where it like becomes cliche because they're like, yeah, this is like Breaking Bad all over again, you know. And so like they're selling drugs through this, but apparently they've been fronted by like the mob, so now the mob is out to get their money back that they've just like burned up and stuff. And so so the guy like takes off, right, the main character we're following, and we get like this weird introduction to his family. It's like this is so and so, and this is so and so, like in this weird, like kind of meta contextual way, you know. It
Yeah.
just like straight calls them out with like weird arrows and stuff. And I think that was kind of what was boring. I was like, why do I care about these people? They just keep telling me, you know. All I know is that this is his family. So like he gets freaked out because the mob is gonna come and like murder them because they just burned down this warehouse, and it's and so he like takes his family. He goes and gets his family. He's like, we're going on a vacation. We're gonna spend family time together. They're just like, what are you talking about? Like it's getting all weird and stuff. He takes their phones. They're like, we can't like go without our phones and stuff. And he puts them on a boat. And he's like, I got to do one thing before I get on this boat, you know. So like, I'll be right back. And he like goes and gets in his car, and the boat explodes with all of his family on it.
Killed his wife, his daughter, and his son.
Yeah.
So that was the mid-book twist. Under the middle of their getaway, his family gets murdered, and he somehow lucks out and gets missed.
Yeah. And so from that point, he's kind of like broken, you know. He's like, I don't really know what to do. Like my family just got straight murdered, and that was the point that really like sucked me in. I was like, okay, this just got really interesting, you know. And so from there, like he goes back and he finds like the rest of the drugs, right? That's what was in the bag.
Yeah, his business partner that was the one doing all the drug moving without his knowledge or consent called him up and said, dude, we can still get out of this. He's like, why would I want to get out of this? I have nothing to live for. You started all this. Like, we have a way out. Just go to this locker and get what's in the locker, and we can get our way out of this. Because the mob is demanding their money because they don't believe that their product got burned down. They believe that his crappy business partner was trying to pull a fast one to steal the mob's money, which we found out he was. That's what's in the locker is the drugs that didn't get burned up.
Yeah, and so he's in this locker. He finds the drugs, and the mobster like walks in and slips on a wet floor and kills himself. So now he's like really in deep doo doo because now it looks like he's doing hits on the mob for like coming to get their money back.
It got to a point where it made me think of Deadpool with Domino, how everything just accidentally works out how it's supposed to for her to stay alive.
Fair.
Like
that's really fair. Yeah.
He, by no effort of his own, he survived this first issue while everyone around him did not.
Yeah. And you know, like they were doing like this fried chicken restaurant thing, so there's like a lot of like chicken themed stuff that goes into it, and they're wearing like these chicken costumes and stuff. I don't know, like it's a really fun like twisty kind of story, and then the artwork and the you know, like the chicken costume and stuff just kind of like layers that on, you know. It makes it palatable, I guess is the best way to put it. Otherwise it would just be like a dark mob story, but it kind of like brings a sense of levity and goofiness to the whole world.
That's very true. It was a very self-aware book, and it knew that it was playing on certain tropes, and it like poked fun at it playing on those tropes. So
I'm definitely picking up issue 2, or at least reading issue 2. But I had a blast reading it.
Yeah.
Becker,
it was a good surprise. I really didn't know what to expect from it because I basically just read it like the day it came out because I saw it there, you know.
Yep.
Yeah, I hadn't heard of it at all. I didn't see a solicitation for it. And when I went to the LCS, Paul was like, hey, check this out. I was just flipping through this. And he showed it to me, and it wasn't being released that day. So I passed on it. When I went back Friday to pick up my books, I asked him if he had it because I heard some people talking about it, and he didn't. But I did find a copy at a different shop here in town. So I don't know if it's one I put on my pull list or attempt just to read digital.
Speaking of mob stories, Miss So brought up Campisi, which I'm with her. I think it's the best mob story out there right now.
Yeah, that's what I assumed you were going to send me. Like, I've heard you talk about that so much, but you sent me a book about unicorn slaughter.
Campisi's really good, though. Yeah, that's a good one.
Because I keep
no context needed, Kyle. No context needed. You sent me a book about unicorn slaughter, and it was fantastic.
I keep promoting this book, and nobody. Every time I say it, I go, "Hey, did anybody read By the Horns?" They're like, "No." You keep talking about it though. I plan on checking it out, and I'm like, "We're issue 6
really
now."
good.
I've been talking about it since issue. I think I started really hyping it up around like issue 2, issue 3. Definitely issue 3 because that's when I did the interview with the artist. But
I'm very worried that Rigby's going to die. Don't spoil it. I'm going to read it.
Yeah, please. Like honestly, please.
I was
do.
like, "Who's Rigby?"
It's no, it's so good. I'm so
I
invested.
thought that was
in
the
this book.
Fables guy.
Like I'm like the biggest cheerleader of this book. This is it, and the righteous quest or righteous search for vengeance tied with By the Horns just because By the Horns and the righteous search for vengeance did the same thing. There's like five words in this issue number 6.
Isn't it Righteous Thirst?
Righteous Thirst. Jesus, I keep messing up. It's just such. I keep talking to people.
Nice House. That's a hard book to remember the proper name
but
for.
it's everything has these long freaking sentences. Like
Well,
just
to the
had this
point where I
conversation.
couldn't remember if I was right. Honestly, I was like, "Is it Righteous Thirst?"
That's fine. Yeah, I had to keep looking.
You're calling it thirst, like, oh no.
I literally have it right here just because I keep forgetting the name of the book. Because I keep getting tongue tied with it. I know that it's righteous and vengeance. So I just almost wanted.
That's actually what I have. Like, if you look at my sticky note, I forgot what it was called too. I wrote Righteous Vengeance.
There you
And then
go.
when y'all said the name, I put Thirst down in the middle of it there.
There
Just
you
to
go.
remember. It's not an easy one.
No, it's just long words and tongue tied, and I struggle talking anyways. So yeah, yeah, I agree with Campisi though. I think Campisi is awesome. I'm sorry that I didn't send you Campisi, but I can't stop talking about By the Horns.
It's
so
okay.
good.
The USPS is still open, so
Yep.
there's still time.
Oh yeah,
Becca,
that's true.
what's one that you read this week?
They raised the rates though, 70 cents.
What's a book I read this week?
Yeah.
I've only read a couple of books. I read Righteous Thirst of Vengeance because it was easy to read.
Yeah, absolutely.
I caught up on a few other things. I caught up on some Dark Hawk, and I caught up on Dark Ages, which is really good.
Oh yeah, that's on my list. What did you think of that second issue?
I like that's going to be fun.
Big time. So that's Tom Taylor's little standalone mini-series he's doing where the world is, there's no electrical devices at all able to be used. In the first one, a celestial level being called the Unmaker awoken at the center of the earth, and to stop him, it took the lives of several heroes and Doctor Strange opening a portal to a different dimension to pull it, basically, for lack of better words, an EMP through that to shut him down, but he died doing it. And the portal's left open, so there's a constant EMP wave flowing over the world where you cannot use standard electrical devices anymore. So that's where the Dark Ages comes from.
Yeah.
The second issue, they kind of set up what the world looks like now that it's years later. So it was a pretty interesting issue. What did you think of this issue? There are some big reveals in it.
Anybody else read it, or is just Mark and I?
No, I didn't.
Ryan?
I don't read Marvel.
I don't either.
Like
But I
you
do- I
won't,
did read
or
Dark Ages.
you just don't?
No, I just don't. It's not like
Yeah.
It's not like I'm standing on like a podium or anything. I'm just not into
Right.
like Marvel or I read some DC, mainly like
This
Swamp
would be
Thing.
one you would probably enjoy. It's Tom Taylor. It's
seems-
separated from everything else. This
It's-
this
You don't
sounded
need to care
intriguing.
about anything. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. It's just
Yeah.
fun.
It's like Elseworld stuff.
What do you think of it, Becker? In more
Oh,
detail.
I've
What
only
happened?
read. So I've read. Is 2 issues out on it? Because
Yeah,
that's
this is
all
the
I've read
second
is
one.
2
Yeah.
issues.
Yes.
No, it kind of reminds me of the other time period pieces they've done, where you see characters in a different life or different light, different scenarios. I don't know. It's a lot better than I know Wasteland stuff's gonna be. So
Yeah. So this one was pretty cool. The stuff that I liked is they kind of showed you the dynamic of the world. They gave you a quick little flash forward. They explained like after the lights went out, there was some power struggle for territories and stuff. Heroes and villains banded together and fought other heroes and villains for territory. More people died. But the whole dynamic of this post-apocalyptic world is set up where you have different territories all over the world, and they all communicate openly with each other. And one thing that was really interesting was the dynamic of how you live your everyday life, because you don't really go outside of your stronghold unprotected, because it's forever night. So the werewolves, the vampires, all the things that thrive in the dark have taken over the common land. So you have people like Blade and X-23 running special forces for these different territories to keep them safe and stuff. And there was an attack on this one. So they went out and they're having this awesome battle. Heads are getting chopped off left and right. And you saw Tony Stark in his little work area, and a vampire comes walking up to him, tough talking him, and then his head just gets lopped off by a shield that was painted red, white, and blue. And you see Steve Rogers walking in with he's wearing like somewhat of his classic uniform, but post-apocalyptic style, with a slightly shaggy hair and a beard. And he's like, "What's up, Tony? We need your help." Blah blah blah. And Tony's like, "Let's do it." So they go to leave, and Tony immediately gets knocked out, and you find out it was Mystique, and as well, like Dracula is there, and a couple of other people, and they take Tony, and you find out that he's being taken to Apocalypse, who has his own stronghold where there's running electricity, and he has the goal of waking up the Unmaker, because that's the only way to solve this problem to the best of his knowledge. And Tony's wondering how Apocalypse has even gotten this far, because he has electricity and he has this nice stronghold, and he's got Reed Richards working for him and all these great minds. And then the Purple Man walks up, who's working for Apocalypse, and he's like, and he basically tells him let's get Tony in check. And they look up, and you see inside this giant, pretty much Tesla coil looking thing, they have Magneto strapped up, and they have him like mind controlled out, just amped up to the max, generating their whole facility. So that has me excited, because one thing that you know about Magneto is he doesn't like not being in charge, and he doesn't like being played with. So when he gets out of that, he's going to get out of that.
Being used as a battery.
Yeah, he's not a fan of being a battery, but it was really cool. It was definitely fun. Tom Taylor never disappoints. Becker, do you want to answer that? I know you have before, but
yeah, I just like Speedball a lot. This is done by an artist named Franco. He does a lot of kind of like almost kids books. All Yeah Comics. He owns with a group of other comic creators. They own 3 comic book shops called All Yeah Comics in Skokie, somewhere in Indiana. Muncie, maybe, and then I think the other one's in New York. Franco's in New York, but there's a lot of pretty high-profile comic creators that are like silent partners, from what I hear. And actually, the guy who runs Reed Pop's Comic Cons, like, books the talent for all of them and everything. Mike Negan he got his start working the counter at All Yeah in Skokie.
Okay.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I met Alex Ross at All Yeah Comics when he did a signing there, which, if you know, he's hard to get a hold of, that Alex Ross. You know, you can't really catch him at very many public signings. He doesn't like to do them.
That's weird, because he always has probably the most impressive setups at cons. I don't know if he's in there,
but he's never there. That's his company, but he's not there. He'll rarely go to San Diego, and then he'll show up at Chicago cons because he lives in Chicago. Actually, I think he lives near Skokie, because he had mentioned that when I think he said he walked or something when I saw him at that one. Yeah.
Was he close?
I don't know, or he just likes to walk a lot. But I remember he had a Green Lantern, kind of almost a Parallax looking Green Lantern painting with him that he was selling.
So he could get a bus ticket home?
Right. I would hope better than a bus ticket. It was listed for $4,000, and I made a comment. I was like, "Oh man, that's really a great painting." He's like, "Yeah, you know, I'd probably take $3,200 for it." I was like, "Still not going to be able to do that, Alex."
Still not going to be able to do that.
You know, it wasn't for lack of trying. I think he was honestly just being nice, but I was kind of like, "Yeah, we're still not there."
That would be awesome to have like an original piece of his. I know you do have one.
I have some pencil prelims, and I have a little Hulk head that's painted.
Nice. Yeah, I have stuff that I bought from his site that's signed by him, but that's about as close as I've gotten to anything like original from him is his signature.
I was able to meet him a few times early on in my con going in the early 2000s when he was still doing cons, and bought prints from him and stuff. And he would have prelims with him, and I bought the pencil prelims to a poster he did for one of the cons I was at.
That's awesome.
For like $100. And I told you that story because it was literally all my money left.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't eat that day on my way home.
Worth it. You've eaten
Worth
since.
it.
Yeah, you've definitely worked out.
It did. But anyway, everybody, I got to bounce out. So I have some stuff going on here. I will talk to you guys later. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, love to have you back.
Hey, always willing to help a friend during football season.
Yeah, appreciate that. Sacrifice. Yes, twist the knife.
See you guys.
For those that don't know, that's why the vet is not here, because what's the pecking order? Football, then family? Yeah, that's what he said. Football, then family. So, real quick, Ryan, did you get a chance to read Mighty Morphin number 12?
No, I still haven't read it.
It's fantastic. This book continues to build and build on itself to get better and better. So, that you read 11 though, right? Where it showed us that Zordon knows that Zorfram, his old Eltarian buddy, is a bad guy, and we saw that Candace escaped from Zed. But in this issue, Zordon actually finds out who Zed is, and finds out it's his pretty much his old brother from back 10,000 years ago when they were like on patrol together and stuff, who trained together and everything. And he didn't believe that information, so he kind of hologrammed himself in front of Zed in Zed's chambers, where Zed's sitting in his chair holding his staff like a boss villain that he is. And he's like, well, what are these rumors? There's no way I'm going to believe them. There's nothing you can say that will ever make me believe you. And Zed interrupts him and just says a quote that he told Zordon 10,000 years earlier, the first time they were out patrolling together. And Zordon just goes stupid, just quiet. Like, it was one of the best Power Ranger moments I've read in a long time. But long story short, this was the final issue before the Eltarian War from the Mighty Morphin title. It's about to be all-out craziness. The Imperials are firing up. The Eltarians are on the way to try to take over Earth. They want the power coins. They want the whole universe. It's going to be nuts. Ryan Parrott has finally really shown that he has some chops. And I do want to say hello to Comic Book G-Spot, another channel member. I appreciate you hopping in here. We got Comicade, a.k.a. Saturday Morning Comics, is up in here. Good peoples. All right, Kyle, back to you, man.
It took us what was it, 15 to 20 minutes to figure out what that was. We finally figured out that it's called Macroverse, is the comic app that has the minor animations where it just provides that extra level of immersion. So I actually
You think that only took 15 minutes to figure out?
It might have been longer. Yeah, we're an hour into this. Maybe that was probably like the second thing we started talking about too. So I actually picked up a Marvel book, but it's the second printing of the new Miles Morales costume. But
which is that? The Miles Morales
29.
Spider-Man?
Yeah, it's the Miles Morales Spider-Man number 29. Basically in 28, he got his outfit just like ripped to shreds, and he himself got beat up pretty badly. And then so he goes, makes his own. He doesn't make his own. He basically gets a new costume, and the second printing had the
Edna, from The Incredibles.
And then he goes, Edna, I need a new super suit. And
oh, darling.
Okay.
No
darling. Let me up. Then I also picked up a DC book, which was the Nice House on the Lake. They didn't have the cover A, but I got the cover B. And
we'll go no farther.
About the scientist.
None of us read Miles Morales Spider-Man, because I know you said you don't read Marvel.
No.
After you just got done breaking down the previous issue. Oh my God. But I did read Nice House on the Lake. This continues to be one of my most highly anticipated titles each month when it comes out. I'm like all in on this book. So what did you think of it, Kyle? Did you get a chance to read it yet? Please say yes.
I just revealed that I read Miles Morales 28.
No, you didn't read it, remember?
I didn't read it. Yeah, I didn't read it.
Yeah.
And I didn't read number 29 either. and I don't
This
read
shows
Marvel.
you how amazing of a character Miles is. Like, you know, he stands above Marvel. He's his own thing now.
I did ye old flip through, and we get to learn about the scientist and her relationship.
That's what you would assume if this book were to keep the same format structure of the previous, but it actually deviates a little bit.
Yeah.
We get a slight deviation. So typically we're 5 issues in. The first 4 that spotlighted a different person in the house and what their function in the house is. Yes. And like how this one is focused on on the scientist. And typically it shows us a long-winded flashback of how that character is tied to Walter and the other people in the house. And it's done that so far to serve the purpose of introducing us to these characters. There's 10 of them in the house that we're sure of from the start of the book. So at this point, we're 5 issues in. So from the interaction of the spotlighted character with the other ones through the books, they feel like we've gotten a pretty good understanding of who's who. So this one, the flashback served a different purpose. It actually served a purpose to highlight Walter over the scientist herself. It was just Walter's interaction with the scientist, which was interesting because
she had the longest relationship with him, right? Like has known him the longest.
No, it's the people that she was associated with that did.
Okay, got you.
Yeah, so she kind of gets brought into Walter's fold through other people, and it shows where he's kind of troubled by it because what it comes down to is he likes her, and he can only choose so many people, and this is what he's telling her, and he's just talking past her reactions in this conversation. He'll say something that she doesn't understand the context because it's coming from pure, honest Walter context. And she's like, what? And she's talking to him, and he just keeps talking through her. Like, I can only save so many and only have so much time to save them, and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, what are you talking about? And he literally just reveals himself, the old twisty-turny person, and she bugs out, and then he just takes her memory from her and just resets her. So that was the flashback purpose in this one. And real quick, we have, I guess his team's doing all right, or he wouldn't be wearing the hat. He said he'd pop up for the halftime show. How's the team doing real quick? I need to know.
What happened to Mike?
I just muted your mic. It's working fine.
Oh, where's that Missouri kid? Where's that Missouri kid?
He's got stuff at the house that he's got to deal with.
Oh, maybe he's got to go deal with how bad the Chiefs are losing. Maybe he needs to call in the National Guard to help them out. Chirping me all week. How's it going?
Talking Nice House. Did you read Nice House?
I don't have Nice House.
Oh, you don't pick up Nice House?
I do pick up Nice House. It was sold out this week.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I remember you saying that.
But moving forward in the story, I'm going to kind of get burned through this a little bit and get to ASM while Chris is here.
Exactly.
But, getting through this real quick. So that was the purpose of the flashback, to show you that Walter is actually a good person, despite like what the people in the house might think, that he honestly cares about him, despite what his purpose is that we don't know what it is yet. So when you get into the real time, all the people in the house are kind of letting each other know what they found out because they've all been holding secrets from each other. So everyone's kind of putting their cards on the table. We know that they can't die. We've now got all the guns out of that storage room with each other. And now we know that everyone knows about that secondary house. So they all get together in a boat and head to that secondary house with the comedian carrying all the guns that he can carry because he wants to shoot somebody or himself because we can't die and it should be fun. Like it's awesome. So they get to the house. They use explosives to blow up that secondary house and get the other guy out of it. And no, the explosives didn't work. All those statues is how they got in there. They all had to figure out that we all have to touch the statues simultaneously, the ones that represent our own symbols, and ask the house to open. And when it does, it lets him out. And the first thing he says is, we might have time to save the world if we move fast. And what's cool is we know in issue 1 we were introduced to the artist. Everyone wondered why Reg wasn't chosen as the artist. So in the last page, you see a full page splash and it gives you the name Reg and it gives you the artist symbol, but it's reversed and he's called the painter. So it's almost like a forced place in the house now that he's there. It's almost like he's not necessarily needed or supposed to be there because nobody has similar symbols except the artist and Reg. And I checked as soon as I saw a symbol, I went and looked at the cover and it's the perfect flip of it. So this book.
When I looked at that, I was confused too. Okay, yeah, thanks.
Yeah, so it's awesome because even when they were all together, like brainstorming and letting each other know what they've all found out, they were asking the exact same questions that we as readers have been asking and speculating on the show and everything. Like, are we in a simulation? Are we on an alien spaceship? And they started asking that because the scientist told him that as she's been looking at the stars, she noticed they're not moving. There's no, what is it called, chartography or something?
Yeah.
None of that is happening. Like they're fixed in the sky. So that's what sparked that conversation. So it was another fantastic issue. It was so good.
Absolutely. And then one more, and then they take a break. So we gotta wait for the others.
We got Chaos and Comics up in the chat. What is going on, brother? Glad you can stop in.
All right.
So Ryan, I know I just kind of like went off on that issue, but is there anything else from that one that you pulled out of it, or you want to add to it, or do you expect to see moving forward?
No, that pretty much covered it.
So real quick, while Chris is here, this isn't just a week for him to celebrate if his football team wins. Like, this is an amazing Spider-Man through and through he is not a fair-weathered fan either. He picked up every single issue of Nick Spencer's run. He read that because just like myself, the titles I love, rightfully so, but just like for characters I love, through thick or thin, good or bad, that's still part of their mythology now, and I'm interested to see what happens. But now it's a new era. Chris, how are you feeling right now? Are you feel vindicated already?
It's a breath of fresh air. It's still somewhat taxing that Ben Reilly is going to be the central character at least over this next start, which is not bad. But again, it's the franchise title, and you kind of expect Peter to be in that franchise title. But I see what they're doing. We'll lead that segue into that. But it looks like they're going to have a slew of writers handle a bunch of issues in the next amount of weeks because they're going to pump these ASMs out as fast as they can, basically because they want to try and line up the next major issue number with the fact that next year is Spider-Man's 50th anniversary or 60th anniversary, I guess.
He should be broaching the 1000th issue by now too, right?
Yeah, well, what's the legacy at? I think the legacy is at 875 for the last issue. So they're going to try and at least pump their way to. They're going to pump their way to 900 as fast as they can.
So just like with a few other Marvel titles, you have the Venom title that's upcoming with Rom V and Al Ewing taking it over together. This one, this issue was done by Kelly Thompson, but next week's issue is done by Zeb Wells. And if you look, there is a huge creative team. I'm talking like 10 plus people working on these books, from the interiors to the exteriors and to the writing. It's a lot. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if they're going to be flip-flopping 1 and 1 or if there's going to be a team per book each month or what. But this first reintroduction to what's going on was handled very well. This was a very well done book. Like they didn't ignore what happened with the Kindred stuff. They didn't just push past it. He's dealing with a little bit of a shock still from his friend dying. He's trying to ignore those emotions and push them down and keep pushing forward. He's neglecting like Mary Jane just so he can stay busy to get over those emotions. But they did a good job introducing Ben back into this. He hasn't been absent in Marvel Comics. Like he was popping up in the Cantwell Iron Man stuff that was god awful, but he wasn't in this suit. So he's back in this like really cool suit from the late 90s. I remember it most vividly from the Marvel vs. DC miniseries when he fought Spider-Man. But apparently there's this Beyond Corporation. It's a multinational conglomerate that has funded Ben Reilly to be Spider-Man. And back when Doc Ock was in the body of Spider-Man, he took him public pretty much. Beyond Corporation bought the name Spider-Man and the rights to this suit. And the best part of the book was a conversation, at least for me, between Ben and Peter when they were just sitting in a diner. And he asked Ben to just take it easy, deal with yourself, work on yourself. I got this, man. And he explained to Peter, like, even though I didn't live through these events, I still have these memories. It wasn't my uncle that died, but I still remember my uncle dying, even though it never happened to me. Just like you, Peter, cannot stop being Spider-Man, I can't either. I thought that was actually really cool because I do like Ben Reilly. I don't like him more than Peter or anything, but I'm interested to, like, that last run was so historically bad that this is not a bad idea just to let Peter take a sideline for a little bit just to clean palate it. So I don't know how long they're going to try to drag it out, but I think it'll be definitely interesting and worth the read.
Yeah, the conversations, it was, this particular issue was good, and it was nice that we had
25 issues. So it sounds like for 925 issues or 924.
Yeah.
It'd be like Peter comes back for issue 1000 on his 60th birthday.
900.
Go ahead.
The one thing that I enjoyed about this is the fact that we had Kelly Thompson writing this, and she does a real good job because we got to see interactions between both Peter and MJ, but we actually got to see Ben and Janine talk as well. And that was the part that I found interesting because we saw in the tail end of the last issue that Ben was there when Janine got released out of prison, and that she basically is going to move in with Ben, and you get to see a little bit of their interaction. So you're going to know that this is going to be a Ben-centric storyline for at least, I'm presuming, the next 6 to 10 issues, if not 12. We got to see both. We got to see Peter show up when Ben was taking on the UFOs. And at that point, we got to see Ben flex a little bit, and we got to see that Ben is not in any way, shape, or form someone that should be taken lightly. And Peter goes in to help out, and in the end, when there's a big cataclysm event, we get to see what they're going to do to Peter. Now, Peter takes the brunt of this blast and basically passes out, and Ben's telling him to hold on because it seems very serious. And we see the advertisements for the next issue. It looks like Peter may lose his arm from the result of this, because this is now where they're going to put Peter and MJ in the, on the back burner for the next little bit of storyline, as Peter's going to be in the hospital, and it looks like he may get himself a bionic arm, a la the Winter Soldier.
So you think he's going to go back to Cyborg Spider-Man from the 90s? Because we got Ben from the 90s in the 90s costume, so we saw the stuff like the Del Otto variant. They did the Cyborg Spider-Man with the eye piece and the metal arm. So maybe they're just leaning in the 90s stuff for some reason.
It could be like maybe they're trying to capitalize on a lot of the generation that enjoyed the 90s cartoon and try and hook them into the storyline now, even though that this is going to be focusing on Ben, and I believe his relationship. I think the relationship between him and Janine are going to be really much at the forefront of this storyline. This is not going to be like Ben just battling his way out of the Beyond Corporation and trying to, save the suit, save the name, and, give it back to Peter. I think this is going to be about the challenges that Janine, because that's her new name, dealt with, and how Ben responds to her troubled past. Because, we know Ben, but we don't know what Ben's love life is going to be while he's web slinging through New York.
Yeah. And this is
your question originally. I'm excited about it. I don't know how the whole gambit part of this is going to work out with all these different writers coming together, but they have a lot of talented writers that haven't handled Spider-Man before. So anything new at this point is going to be refreshing, because as much as I didn't like Nick Spencer's run was just too long. I'm the kind of comic book writer. I want someone to handle it for 12 issues, 8 issues, and then move on. But that's just me. Everyone has their own type of writing style, or writers and their style.
Let them keep going. If it's not being well received by your audience, it's time to move them to a different title. Nothing against the writer. Not every writer is capable of writing every character well. You have to find a character for them. But to Flash Ray's point here, I agree he went out like a sack, but that's because everything he just went through. It's not. Those aren't actually exclusive. It was talked about in that book how Peter was pushing himself and just ignoring everything. And even Ben's like, why are you here without proper protection? Like when Peter got affected by the UFOs, and those are Hulk level villains. Yeah, those are not Spider-Man run out on a whim and fight those people level villains at all. And just to ask Chris real quick. So the Beyond Corporation is who's funding Ben. So naturally, I have to assume, especially being Marvel, that they're not going to have some kind of multinational corporation not be the bad guy. I feel like there's definitely nefarious stuff going on. And I'm almost thinking already off the bat that they are responsible for the UFOs being there at the end, so they can get Spider-Man off the table. That's it. That's my story speculation.
Right. I 100% agree. That's exactly what I was thinking. This is Beyond trying to snuff Peter as fast as they can, get him off the streets, and make Ben, their trademark, and turn around and pump profits up and sell that Spider-Man merch and get Ben out there and Like
His suit is
this is
awesome.
why they
Like, it's
this is why they got
super
Janine
capable.
out of prison, to make him as happy as humanly possible, to go out there and do exactly what they want. Look what we've done for you. We've given you back your love life. Now we need you to take care of this for us.
Yeah,
So
it's
yes,
coming.
it's just to what
Yeah,
point
I
or
almost
to what
felt like
degree.
if they didn't get Spider-Man out, the shakedown was coming, because when right after the conversation with Ben and Peter, he went back to the Beyond Corporation, and they didn't even want to hear him mention that he talked to Peter. Like, nope, we need to stay away for legal purposes. Like, we have, what is it? That negative accountability stuff. Yeah, a lot of people dropped it, and the people that didn't drop it, Cade, were just super sad about it. Now, I know Aggressively Relaxing has been in here pretty regularly talking about where he's enjoying it because he's able to get past some of that negative stuff, because he was, I know in previous conversations you were referring to more like the editorial process that was really hindering it, so you were taking that into consideration, but you weren't screaming the praises of the story, just kind of explaining why they were the way they were.
My point is, if they could have given us arguably the best Spider-Man story in 6 issues with the death of Kraven, they could have done it in 12 with Kindred. It didn't have to go 3 years. It didn't have to go this far.
Legendary writer right now.
Yeah.
Those don't come around every day.
All right, gentlemen, I'm gonna bounce. Thanks for having me, Mark. Gentlemen, stay safe.
All right,
Everyone
fingers
out
crossed
there.
your team loses. Appreciate you being here.
You're a nice guy. This is for your dad.
Love you, bro.
See you later, guys.
Tell him to stop scoring points.
Yeah. All right, Ryan, I know you read it. What'd you think?
Nope, didn't get to it.
Oh, that's cute.
Every time Ryan doesn't read a book, you take a shot.
Anytime anybody says on at week's end that they haven't read a book, it's part of the drinking game for those of you who are participating at home.
Get that information sooner.
Sounds like sounds like a solo endeavor.
Yeah. He waits till we're an hour and a half in to share that information with anybody.
Oh, that wasn't. I when Chris showed up, I mentioned it in the chat, but nobody said anything.
No, yeah, I didn't get to read.
That's a good point. The Spider-Man miniseries that JJ and his son Henry Abrams did that turned out to be absolutely horrible with Carnivorous and everything. That Peter Parker in the first issue lost an arm in the battle. But that story was mainly focused on their son, Ben. But yeah, it was, man. See, I've tried out like all the Spider-Man miniseries that have come out throughout Spencer's run, just wanting a good Spider-Man book to read, But that one was another one that let me down. It wasn't horrible until you get to the end of like Avengers, zombie, robots. So like, good God, this book really just committed to something that shouldn't exist.
Are you okay with spoilers on Swamp Thing? Because I do want to hear about Swamp Thing. Is that okay, Ryan?
Yeah,
Hey, he's on a spoiler show.
Okay. Yeah. That's I want to hear it because like I've been listening to the spoilers every single time that Swamp Thing comes out, learning about
We
Swamp Thing. It's an
finally
interesting
got
story.
the backstory to Levi and his family dynamic in this one. So this is wrapping
cool.
up the Suicide Squad's involvement in this title.
Okay.
They've come to terms that they are not going to be able to capture Swamp Thing, and they've come to terms that that's actually not a thing. Like they don't know what Amanda Waller was thinking sending them there. They wish that she would let them come home because this is not up their alley. But they're hoping to get like at least something to bring back to her. And I don't know if you remember the final page of that last issue. Kimmo was walking up to Swamp Thing. So in the midst of this opening up with Peacemaker talking to that random girl who's probably only going to be in this little tie-in title,
Okay.
she's like, Peacemaker's like, I thought you had him. She's like, I did, but I didn't. It's not really a thing kind of thing. And it turns the page to think you could even control something like that to a 2-page splash of Swamp Thing decking Kimmo, like giant-sized decking, like maybe a little more bang for your buck here.
This series is so cool.
Bigorize yourself.
Now, I don't know if y'all have noticed this, but as this series has progressed, Swamp Thing has become more Swamp Thing looking. If you go back to the first issue, he doesn't have all the hard vines in him and everything. He's he's very unformed. But as it goes, he's getting more and more formed. He even has like stones for hands. He has teeth and all over him. But as he's getting more control of himself and more understanding of what he's going through, he's in more control of what he can do. But Peacemaker's like on some like, all right, we're not going to have peace until we get this guy. So he pulls out these little glowy sticks that he has. He's got some glow sticks. He's like, I'm going to go fight me a Swamp Thing with some glow sticks. I'm like, sure, go ahead, whatever. So
Time to rave.
Chemo's out. Parasite has been sitting here just sucking up all this energy, and Parasite makes an attempt at him, and they just get to fighting, and Parasite starts soaking in the green off of him, and it kind of that ties us into that gives us our segue into the flashback. Parasite is now seeing Levi's memories, and like back in India, these developers that Levi was working for were wanting some of the land that his family has spiritual ties to. Well, we see how deep the spiritual ties go. That his dad is like an old, chief head or something for that area and stuff.
Yeah.
And his brother is as well, and his mom, and he's like the outlier of his family that went to corporation because he honestly believes that this would be good for them, but they're telling him no, it's not, and they're like really tied to the land and to the earth on a spiritual level, and explaining to him how he's super disconnected. Long story short, he okie dokes his family, sends in the developers. The family tries to do protests and stuff, and his father accidentally gets killed, gets shot. So he fill in the gaps. You can just understand how he feels and how his family looks at him. And it turns out his brother went through a ritual after this to embody himself with the power of what's called Hedera, or Hedera, Hedera, which is like a spiritual deity of that area. And he comes like antler ears and everything. He comes for Levi. And it gets wicked good. So he pretty much takes care of Parasite for him in horrific fashion. Let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger. So he just sticks his hand out down here and just takes Parasite apart. Wow. Has a conversation with his brother and then just leaves him be. So Swamp Thing goes and finds that Prescott bomb that was dropped there in the swamp early on, and he soaks it up. And then Peacemaker finds him at that point, takes some swings at him, hits him a few times, and he finally just grabs Peacemaker by the arm. And this is where it gets interesting. So he grabs Peacemaker by the arm, and while Peacemaker's talking to him, he's talking back to him kind of on some next level stuff, he just reaches inside of his neck and pulls out his detonator. Peacemaker's free.
Dang.
Peacemaker's free.
Nice.
And that's how it pretty much wraps up.
That's the heck yeah.
So he doesn't even.
It's of 12, right?
Yeah, this was 8 of 10.
8 of 10. Okay, so it's of 10.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So then we get back to then we get one page back at the offices where all of this is going on and everything, and we kind of see the corporate dickheads over at Prescott Corporation.
Okay.
So so you're going to get the final play by the corporate dickheads that want him, and they say, "Go get me his girlfriend." So now they're going to try the blackmail kidnapping move, and I'm sure that's going to go swimmingly for him.
Okay.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. For all we know,
awesome.
Peacemaker can show up and take him out now. But to have Peacemaker Unchained, I think that was an interesting play for DC to do that, not in the Suicide Squad title, but out over here in Swamp Thing. Because with Peacemaker getting his own show, maybe he'll get his own title. Maybe.
Yeah, I was about to say, it sounds like they're going to... I bet in January we see the release of a Peacemaker series.
It'd be cool. What is up, TM Nerdies in the chat? Another channel member, and a big thank you to everybody here who is a channel member. Mars Comics, TM Nerdy, Pops Attic, all you guys with the little loyalty badges by your name. I really appreciate that. More than you guys know.
Oh, Chris
I
might
think
be
Chris's
back.
game is about to get away. Got some lightning going on outside. Oh, man. But yeah, I only have 2 more books in my pile that I've had 3 more that I picked up, 2 more that I read on my physical. But real quick, I'm going to list off the digital ones that I read, see if y'all read any of them. Arkham City by DC, the new horror comic. Super horror. Highly recommend. Okay, you ready? Last Flight Out, number 2 by Dark Horse.
I didn't get to that one.
I was supposed to, too. And
Hit the
I
top.
didn't.
Come on now.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Out by AWA Upshot.
Ah.
Okay.
I haven't heard anything about that, but people have been talking about it since it came out.
It was pretty good.
It was man. I skimmed it. Do I take like a half?
No. All right, so the first I'm definitely gonna get back. I'm coming back to that one for sure, Mars, but I do want to hit this real quick because there's not really much to say about Out. What it is, it takes place in World War II toward the end of the war when the Nazis are really reaching for straws.
Correct.
which is always interesting. But this story pretty much focuses prisoners being transported into a POW camp in an old castle, and it's really showing you the dynamic, the paranoia, the breaking down of the prisoners themselves. And they do a couple of really interesting things. Like I know that Pocan Joe, who was ex-military, was a lot more appreciative of the little nuances and the homework that went into writing the book. But it was cool that our main character is a wind talker. Like if y'all remember that movie where back in World War II, they used Native Americans who could do translations and do code breaking and code running so that each other, So we follow one of him, which is cool because you're dealing with a bunch of languages as well as occult languages that he doesn't even recognize and adds to the horror. But the whole thing is the Nazis need these POWs there to be the buffet for the vampire they're trying to wake up. In the very last page of the book, they finally wake him up. You don't get a full reveal of him, but you do see the top of his head as he rips someone's throat out, which was pretty cool. So,
and the way that it was drawn too, like you could
gritty.
see, and it was very like you can see like how they're like really cold too at certain points. Like everybody's really stiff. Like it's done pretty well in that aspect. So and I like vampires, so it was cool that the vampire showed up.
Yeah, it was not bad.
That was a half drink. I didn't like read the entirety
What
of it.
is up,
So,
Nicholas?
you want to go back?
Ryan,
to
did you read Last Flight Out?
No, I didn't get to that one.
That book was really floppy. Like I didn't even like pick it up. Like I was afraid I was gonna like damage it. Like picking it off the shelf.
So we know that the guy we know the head engineer of the project to get everybody off planet Earth left with only a couple hours left before the final arc takes off to go try to find his daughter who wasn't at the extraction point. So he just knows that something's up, that something's wrong, but he knows where she is. So in an attempt to get to her, their helicopter crashes. A few of them die. They have to kind of move in the shadows because there's a lot of people not leaving Earth that don't agree that the planet's dying. But we find out that in the cities now, they're pretty much hostile zones. Even before the final people leave, the warlords are running them, this, that, and the third. And there's this whole mega corporation that is not ran down or anything. That's, you can think there's a mega corporation that funded the arcs to get off the Earth, but you also have the opposite mega corporation that doesn't believe the world is ending, with the opposite perspective viewpoint on the whole global disaster that's happening. His daughter is actually with them, sided with them, worked for them, happy with them, and he knew it. He knew that she didn't want to leave. He just wanted one last chance to go convince her. So he just cost all these people their lives and drug them on this doo-wop, all just to try to get to that point. That's where it cliffhanged us. It was.
Jeez. Okay. I didn't see the story going that way. Okay. I read issue 1, so.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. So kicking back to the
Arkham City. Yeah.
Arkham City, fantastic. Okay, I did not pick up a floppy of this. I wasn't even going to read it, but I just had extra time on a Tuesday morning, and I read it. And I forget who's writing it, but Danny's doing the art. The premise of the book is like on A Day when the whole thing happened and all the craziness happened in Arkham when the gas was released to frame the Joker. People did get out. Not everybody died in there. And there's Arkham patients running the streets. So one of the psychiatrists or psychologists or something is working with the police officers to try to profile crimes and stuff to kind of track them down and this, that, and the third. And it's handled very, very street level, very, very realistic. Danny's artwork is very gritty, again, like Out is, and it's grotesque the way that it's being handled. It doesn't feel like a comic book at all. Like it doesn't feel like a superhero book, to the point that you forget that superheroes exist in this world. You forget you're in Gotham and the characters that are normally in the book, because they add this horror element. There's this one character called the 10-eyed man who's literally torturing someone. He has 10 eyes on his fingertips and this crazy headpiece, and you see him torturing this person throughout the book. It keeps cutting to him and them looking for people. And by the end of the book, you see that the psychiatrist knows him and is talking to him and like not letting the police know this, that, and the third. And then you see the police at the crime scene with the guy who's torturing the whole time, where he was able to take his jaw out without breaking the skin. So it gets real, real creepy, and they leave us on a crazy cliffhanger. So I'm definitely in for this one. I'm still contemplating actually picking up a floppy on it. I don't know if I will or not.
So you said people from Arkham Asylum are just wandering the streets because they survived? Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So it opens up with the police surrounding this house with the waiting on the psychiatrist to get there to go in. And you go in and you see her talking, and there's just a little girl on a bed in the fetal position, and she's talking. You're wondering, why is she talking to the girl like this? And then she walks up to the bed, leans down and looks under the bed, and the Rat King is under her bed trying to decide or not when's a good time to eat this little girl. And they basically talked him out and like escort him out of the house before he cannibalized another victim.
Jeez. Okay.
Like it's hard rated R book.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Mars says that guy with the eyes on his fingers was so creepy, but not as scary as the rat. Yeah, that was just the way he was like tweaking under the bed, just waiting on when's a good time to consume this small child.
Jeez. Okay. So what are some other books on your list that you read digitally?
Those were the last ones I hit. Dark Ages, Rightful Thirst for Vengeance, got the name right.
Yep.
Out, Last Fight in Arkham City. So the last books period that I picked up, which grab your glass.
Okay.
Did you guys read The Sumerian from
Oh,
Ablaze?
no.
Yeah, no one ever reads this, so that's just my thing. It's Conan. It's Robert E. Howard's Conan short stories brought in comic book format. They're always really fun. But the other two books I read was the crappy issue of Batman because it is what it is, and Billy the Kid, which was fantastic.
Is that the one that Pocan Joe was talking about like months ago?
So about a month ago, they sent out a one per store. They didn't even announce it, but sent it out so that they can put it up in the store for advertising purposes and whatnot. But the actual issue 1 came out. Holy hell, this was good. Like, think R-rated Disney.
That was only a month
Western
ago?
Revenge. Maybe it was 7 months ago. Time's relative,
I was
right?
going to say. That's true.
Cheers to that. Yeah.
But it was a while back. Oh, Mars is reading The Sumerian.
Yeah.
How
Wow.
fantastic.
And then obviously Pocan Joe is loving Billy the Kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember vividly like driving down the road listening to him talk about that on the morning hangout.
I like the backup story in Batman Fear State for Clown Hunter because I'm a big Clown Hunter fan.
I like Clown Hunter, but I've been skipping Is he still falling?
No. Wait, no, he's still tripping on the Scarecrow.
Yeah, remember, didn't Scarecrow douse him and push him off a building? And so, like, for the past 2, he was falling, and you're just getting, like,
he's snapping in and out of it. So, yeah. So, I don't know. I just like Clown Hunter. So
yeah. So the actual Batman story was just that confrontation between Peacekeeper 1 and Peacekeeper X. Mahoney, aka 1, was doused with the highest dose of fear gas that anyone's ever been hit with and sent out on the street. So Simon Saint is trying to go get him before he can do any damage to their brand. So they amp up his other little crony and send him out and call him Peacekeeper X. And long story short, they fight. They both get injured, but Peacekeeper 1 is still running rampant. Batman's doing whatever other than what he should be doing. And it's just,
I saw him not
let's get it over with already. Let's get it over with. Can we just end it with this issue?
I was not missing Batman since I dropped it, and then I'm really kind of starting to hate it since it kind of like ruined Catwoman and Nightwing this past month.
Yeah, it's going to ruin them next month too, I believe. Like you get 2 months. Yeah, 2 months of time.
Fear State thing is such garbage.
And what's funny is they're kind of playing into it with the Titans season. You have Scarecrow as your main antagonist in Titans. He's tapped the water main and poisoned it with fear stuff so that he can amp up the city to a level of fear that it'll self-destruct and it'll be forced to rebuild better than before. So it's literally Fear State mixed with the Batman Begins.
Which would have been great.
What just happened?
I think Ryan.
You kind of lagged on us there, Ryan. What did you say?
I said it would have been great if it was still coming out on DCUI. And like the Batman comic was being released on there, and then the Titan season was still being released there, and they were like cross promoting. That would have been great, but like, what's the point right now?
No, there's really not much of a point. We got Panned up in the chat. Of course, saying hello to all the ladies in the chat. That's just really manners. He just has good manners. That's all that is.
Yeah. He was a mama's boy.
So Echoland's 2 came out, but I accidentally picked up the second print of #1, so I didn't read Echoland's #2.
That's the horizontal book, right? The whole thing.
Yeah, it's all landscape, and it's I do not recommend. Do not read this book digitally. It cuts off things out of the story, and it does not translate well to digital. What else? I picked up Sweet Paprika. There's a bunch of issue 3s, and I'm gonna name some, and we'll see if Ryan is Sweet Paprika 3.
I have not read it.
There's
I read the first issue.
Yeah, you better keep that in your hand.
Oh shoot, that's right. All right, so
Is it shot per book or per person?
Chaos said that Echo
No,
Lands has been beautiful.
just for per book, yeah. So Echolands and strangely enough, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow,
Hell yeah.
is some of the
What do you
best
mean,
art I've seen
strangely
in,
enough?
in
Yeah,
no,
I was about to
strangely
say.
enough is that I'm going to say a DC book is some of the most like incredible art that I've seen in comics recently. So Echolands and Supergirl are amazing art. This one's definitely a drink. Is Nick here? Apex Legends number 3.
I have not read that. I'm sure he
so
probably picked it up though. He's a big Apex guy.
Yeah, we play Apex together. So yeah, we're learning more about the character backstories. There's actually what's cool about Apex is they're a video game. They have a comic in the video game that you can like read digitally on whatever your console or on PC, I guess. And then they have a printed
Sounds like
comic.
a terrible experience.
And no, it's not. they have it's themed, like there's music that goes along with it, sound effects, and like slight little animations. It's actually really cool, like to have so many different mediums of the comic book, and then they just have a bunch of printed lore if you want to like lose yourself into it. And then I read some digitally. One was
You have a sticky note.
the last book you'll ever read. I should have made a sticky note. Yeah, the last book you'll ever read. I have them all up there, but I couldn't find them all.
I saw you look at him just then. That's why I asked. I saw you turn.
Yeah. I thought I got. Oh, here we go. Jeez, I have it. Last book you'll ever read. Issue 3. This was.
It looked like a messed up Cocapelli on the cover.
Yeah, well, it's the dirty cover. That's the ones that I'm buying, and we're not going to show this one.
Yeah,
It's
we're not
really
gonna
bad. So, yeah, the last book you'll ever read, basically, this lady. Sorry, I have to drink. Lady writes a book. Book turns people into monsters / animals / zombies, but like in the first issue, they're more like animals, and they're like lead into their like animalistic instincts. Like people just like let's have like a lot of PDA and stuff like that, and then people start attacking her. She's giving a book tour, and people are actively like mobs of people are attacking her. It starts off with like issue 1, there's like this old lady that tries to attack her. And then issue 2, there's like a couple people that try to attack her, and then issue 3, she gets mobbed by like a horde of people, and she gets chased into the forest. She has a bodyguard. I'm really paraphrasing the crap out of this book. She has a bodyguard. She's sleeping with the bodyguard. She doesn't want the bodyguard to read the book because she fears that he'll turn into one of these creatures as well. And they try to protect her, and she actually gets saved by a tiger in a kind of like kick-ass way. Like it was really cool to see. Another issue 3 was why am I blanking? The Me You Love in the Dark, where we learn more about the artist and her relationship with the entity.
I feel like he regrets this game.
Yeah, with the and I said PDA. I'm just being clever. PDA. There's lots of very very explicit content in Last Book You'll Ever Read, but it translates really well into the Me You Love in the Dark, because subsequently she ends up having what is the Hollywood Squares thing that they would say? Oh, making whoopee or whatever it's called with this entity. And that's
the dating game.
Yeah, the dating game. Yeah, that's what I would. But yeah, she ends up making
Probably the game.
Basically, she's making art, and she's inspired, and this entity is like super very friendly, but it's like this big lanky leg. It's drawn so beautifully. Like if you don't like Scotty Young for writing, or you're not a big fan of Middle West, or you hold like his kid art over his head, like it's like some kind of like, oh, you draw kitty stuff. It is written very simply. Like the writing is very simplistic, but Jorge Corona crushed it on the art. Like the Me You Love in the Dark is drawn so beautifully. He plays with like this monster creature entity ghost thing, and really plays with shadows and like light and dark, and like the panel layouts are beautiful. Like he has like it's very very good. There's lots of music, and music kind of goes through the book, and it's very like kind of people don't notice it, but he uses it to draw your eyes through the panel layout. It's really cool. What's that? Oh yeah, it's getting deep and creepy. Absolutely. And then there's one more book that I'm also blanking on. It's a number 3. I'll think of it in a second. Hold on, give me a second. I think I read it digitally. That's why I'm not. Here's my phone. Nope.
Yeah, it's kind of his. It's kind of his best quality.
He's pleased with himself. What do you? I don't know.
He asked what the drinking game was. Said whenever anyone on panel that hasn't read any book that has mentioned Kyle drinks, he came up with it and he plays by himself.
What was the other book that I read?
I'm not sure. I wasn't there.
Yeah. It's not
Brian, do you have any other books that you read this week while he's thinking of them?
Bail me out of here for a second. It's on my wish list.
Yeah, so this is all like back reading stuff, I guess. But the wife grounded the kids and I yesterday, so
Nice.
And yourself?
I kind of take on punishments with them. Why not? One of
Why
them
not?
lost a wallet, so we all suffer, So I sat down and read more of Sonic the Hedgehog, the trade that Cade had sent me.
Awesome.
So I sat down and read that with them. Pretty good. I read
What
the issue
publisher
with
was it
Knuckles.
from?
IDW,
Okay. That's the
Yeah,
longest running one, isn't it?
I believe so. It's the first trade, so it's like the first 4 issues of that run, and basically in it, like Sonic, it starts like Sonic had defeated Eggman, and so like everything was good in the world, but now like Eggman's robots are attacking the world, so he don't really know like why they're back or how they're back or like anything like that. But he's basically going from town to town and like saving these little towns that are being overrun by Eggman robots. And so in each issue, he goes to a new town basically and like meets up with one of his old homies. So he met up. The first one was kind of him by himself, and then he met up with Tails, and then he met up with Amy Rose. And so yesterday we read the issue where he met up with Knuckles, and Knuckles is all angry all the time. And it was pretty good though. I enjoy it. It's fun, lighthearted, and the kids enjoy it because they love Sonic because of the movie. So
Yeah.
it's a weird like generational bridge.
Can you ask your kids if they know who Ugandan Knuckles is?
Well, not at the moment, no.
Okay. No. I mean, like eventually.
But I'll let you know if they
and then
know.
get back to me on that. Yeah, it was like a video game, and Ugandan Knuckles showed up in the video game, and it was like this huge trolling aspect for like 6 months, and you couldn't get away from it.
Archie is the longest run. Oh, the Archie ones.
Oh yeah, thank you.
That'd be pretty
Like,
cool.
Literally, they know what I read.
Well,
Two
he's probably looking at the previews
background?
order.
Right? So Paul Rogers said it, and then also Chaos and Comics said it. He's like, it's definitely Lucky Devil. So yeah, I read Lucky Devil number 3. And anybody? Okay. And Lucky Devil number 3, I think that this is an underrated book. I mean, it's also Dark Horse, and like the quality of the paper is kind of bad, which is why I read 3 digitally. And but the story is cool. Basically, I'll give you a brief synopsis, and then I'll tell you where the story is going, and you can tell me if you're interested. So this guy is possessed by a demon, right? And he hires a more or less budget exorcist to like get the demon out of him. And the exorcist like messes up the exorcism, and he gets the demon out, but like he only gets the demon out. So the guy, his name's Stanley, he has the demon's powers, but the demon's out of him, and the demon's name is Zed, and he turns in like to like this homebody that like has no purpose. He's a demon with no powers, so he like hangs out and like drinks beer around the house, and this guy's basically figures out that he has powers because like his life is like crap. Like everything's going wrong with him. He's just like a super unlucky guy, relationships are falling apart, his home life's crappy, and he like basically has a mental breakdown at like this highly populated area, and he murders everybody. And he finds out that he has like the powers of a demon. And then the story takes a turn where he basically makes his own cult and shows off his demon powers. Yeah, and we all. Speaking of which, the meeting has been moved to Thursday, and he basically flaunts his powers, and he's like, "Oh, like you don't believe me?" And like he snaps his fingers, and a demon shows up. And like, well, he started off really small, like talking to like people, like in a like 10 people in a chair circle in a room, and then now he has like an auditorium with a hype man that's hyping him up and saying like, "This is the next coming of like whatever." And each issue he like gets attacked by it's the same. There's so many similarities. So the last book you'll ever read, the girl gets attacked by more and more things each time, and in Lucky Devil the guy gets attacked by more and more things at each time. Like the first time he was attacked by some dogs and he like banished them. And then he gets attacked by like 3 demons that are just like they murder everybody. And then the guy who is the budget exorcist shows up, and right before the demons show up, and he goes, "Hey, I just wanted to like talk to you. Like, hey, you're doing something really dumb," because he saw his like cult following on TV, where he's like a televangelist basically. And he goes, "You're really messing this up, man!" Like, and he like secretly does a binding spell, so he can't use his powers, and because he's afraid that he's gonna like kill him for messing up the exorcism. And he goes, "No, like people will come and kill you," and then lo and behold, the demons show up, and then he tries to use his powers, and he's like, "Oh crap!" And then the exorcist guy's like, "I may have bound you or something." And he's like, "Well, freaking change it!" Like while the demons are killing everybody. And then he changes it. He can't banish them because they're so powerful. He just like blows them off the building. And there's lots of similarities with last book you'll ever read. There's not as much sex though in Lucky Devil.
Oh, bummer. Miss So said you might like Battle Pope from about 10 years ago.
Oh, absolutely. I have a trade. I just haven't gotten around to read it. It's in my stack.
Chaos said that Colin Bunn is really prolific.
He's everywhere. Like I need to finish reading Parasomnia. I read issues 1 through 3, and 4 already came out, but my copy was like really damaged, so I have to return it to the shop. But yeah, he's also on Parasomnia, which has been a really good story. And also read Darling. If people are talking about like horror and creepy stuff, go pick up Darling. I think people will like that for like a Halloween kind of book. So, yeah, that's all I have to say. Oh, I have 1 book on my pull list next week, Witchblood.
Dude, next week is huge pull list for me.
Really? Literally,
Yeah.
I just have 1 book.
Immortal Hulk number 50 is finally coming out. I'll be reading ASM, but I don't think I'm going to be pulling it. Joker, the finale to Strange Adventures, another digital read. I'm hoping that it's better than the last issue. If it's not, I'm just going to not even read it anymore. Superman and the Authority finale. This is another one I'm close to dropping. The Justice League Last Ride finale. Batman Imposter starting. Power Rangers 12. And then there's a lot that I might read depending on how time goes and mood to go or dynamic of the household goes, and what I hear other people mentioning.
Mine's all, I like to buy issue 1s and then jump to like hardcover or trade paperback. So God Colors Deluxe hardcover is coming out for the 2nd arc, and Dead Dog's Bite is coming out with their hardcover trade paperback. So
Chaos said he plans to start a 6th gun series, and that you're now the 2nd person he knows that's reading Darling.
Oh yeah, so Darling is extremely good, and it's super dark, and like it talks on like topics that like people don't talk about in comics, and yeah, no, Darling's awesome.
Yeah, those guys gave a great interview about it on a podcast. I don't remember which one at the moment. Probably off panel.
Yeah, the what's it called? There's all the indies that I'm reading at least right now. There's a bunch
Ryan,
of
do you have
others,
any
but-
other that you read from this week you want to break down?
Yeah. Heroin. Yeah, so Friday night, what's today? Sunday? Yeah, Friday
Yeah.
night. I was at my computer and I got a message from Tyler out of the blue, and I was like, "What is this?" Tyler never messages me, so I flipped over to the message, and he told me I need to read "Underwater Welder" by Jeff Lemire. He was like, "I think you would really be into it. It's your kind of thing." I never message people about books they should read, but like for some reason I thought you should read this. I was like, that's a pretty high recommendation. Nobody ever feels compelled to message me. So I read it. And that's actually what I was finishing whenever you popped on. Like, I was right at the end because it's like a graphic novel, at least the way I read it. And it's like 200 pages. And so I was at like page 180, and you popped up, and like it was the same moment that like all the pieces just like kind of start to come together, you know? And so, like, I don't know if y'all could tell, but I was like literally biting my nails as I finished reading it because it was phenomenal. Like it's just like it establishes a lot through like repetition, you know, so it keeps doing like the same things over and over again. And it's really just like this guy kind of like, I don't know, he's going through like this weird moment in his life where like he's about to have this baby, and there's like some crazy things from his past that's kind of tied into it. I'm assuming that Tyler probably read it because there's a Halloween, the actual day is involved in like a pretty traumatic moment from his past. So I imagine he was reading books that had Halloween involved or something, and that's how he came across it. But it's just like, I don't know. It's like this, like kind of like a sad sap kind of guy, like going through a moment where it could ultimately lead him down a very, very, very dark path. And he finds some sense of salvation at the end. And there's like this whole like crazy thing. Yeah, like it's I don't know. It's like really good. Not to speak to the quality, right? Like I don't think I could tell a story like Jeff Lemire, but the style of storytelling that it is like definitely in the wheelhouse of something that I think I would create. Because like it's just like basically this guy's a moment in this guy's life where like everything could turn out like really bad or really good, you know, and it's all like tied to his history with his dad and like
Gotcha.
how messed up all that is. And you know, he's an underwater welder, so like he's doing underwater welding stuff. And so that kind of like ties in. They use like O2 deprivation and stuff to kind of like tie into these crazy moments that take you back into his past childhood and stuff. And it kind of like blends this sense of surrealism into it all, because you're like, I don't like really know how all of this works and like falls into place, but it's you know, it's like a very like metaphorical story of like, you know, you have the ability to change your lot in life and the path you're on and the journey you're on, you know. And it turns out really good. Like I said, I was like biting my nails at the end, like which way is this gonna go? Like, is this guy gonna make it or not, you know? So it's really good. If you've never read Underwater Welder, I think it's a pretty early Jeff Lemire work. I've heard of it a lot, but I've never actually read it. So if anybody's ever been on the fence about it, like check it out. It's really cool.
I'm sold. A slice of life.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all. I think Jeff Lemire does all the writing and the artwork, and it's like just like in black and white, basically. I think it's like blue and white, really, but yeah, like it's just like a really good like moment in somebody's life where things could go one of two ways.
Paul said it came out in 2012.
Yeah.
I'm not
So
sure.
we're
there's
hitting
any-
that. We're hitting the last couple minutes here. We're hitting 11 o'clock. It's a 2-hour mark. We're going to try to keep it around there. Any other ones you want to touch on?
No, there's just another art book coming out next week. Legend of Korra. I'm not sure if anybody's familiar with like Last Avatar and that series. They have an art book that's coming out that I'm excited to pick up. So
The M. Night Shyamalan movie?
no,
You say The Last Airbender?
like I didn't watch the movie. I watched the animated.
There's an animated one for it?
It started off as an animated show, yeah. And then they did a manga, and then they did the really lame movie, and then they did Legend of Korra, which was also animated. not sure if you're trolling me. I'm not even watching the screen.
I know that's the best part. A little bit. I've never watched the cartoon. It came out like after my time, but I did watch the live action movie. So the only context I have for it is it was a high budget kids movie.
Yeah, yikes.
Not even.
So when I watched it as
was a high budget dumpster fire.
So when I watched it as a high budget kids movie, I'm like, oh, that was all right. When that little bald kid at the end went full Super Saiyan and made the big wave, and he just like did the front kick and it like leaned it over. I'm like, dude, this is beast mode. I loved it. But again, I had no context for it. I had no clue what it was. I just thought, oh, M. Night Shyamalan strikes again. This is actually better than most M. Night Shyamalan movies post signs, you know?
That's his worst one, man.
They got a lot of like harsh critics because like the only people that really wanted to see it were people that were familiar with the TV show and how amazing it was.
Then there's me.
So,
dude,
I even bought it. I bought it after the fact. Like that was lit. Like I've legitimately watched that movie at least 8 times. Like I still want to know how he got frozen. You know. Why is he frozen in the ice?
It's so bad.
It's all explained in the animated series. It's on Netflix if you want to watch it. It's definitely.
You know what's funny is I've had this conversation with so many people, so I'm fully aware of how ridiculous I sound. But it's still the truth. Like I like the movie.
That movie was so bad. I had a cousin. He asked for that movie for Christmas when it came out, and it showed up under the tree. And I remember him unwrapping it from Santa Claus. I was like, "Oh my god, Santa Claus hates that kid." So bad.
I have one of those.
Yeah, the movie doesn't really cover everything.
Like, I mean, it's not even a comic book or a novel. Like, they literally say the names millions of times across the series, and they couldn't even get those right in the movie. What are you? Oh, it's so bad.
Oh, they got the names wrong in the movie?
Yeah, in the live action movie, they don't call him Aang. He's Ong.
Ong?
Like, yeah. Like, they don't say any of the names right.
Yeah, that was the little Super Saiyan kid's name. That's right.
Yeah.
No, I did recognize that. You know the brother with the boomerang?
with the arrow.
You know the brother with the boomerang?
Sokka is his name, yes.
Yeah, that actor was like he actually stood out as being a poor actor. Like the fire dude who was in like all kinds of other like great movies. Like he acted circles around everyone else in the movie. Him and his uncle. Like both of them were like good actors. Like they didn't really fit into the movie. Like, cause like the kids weren't exactly delivering stellar lines. You know what I mean?
No, it was very like Star Wars prequels where like you can tell half the actors don't even know where they're at.
I'm happy that you like Prince Zuko, who you refer to as the fire guy, because he is the best character in the animated series as well.
Yeah, he was awesome. He looked like he had some pain behind those eyes. You know what I mean? And it was cool that his uncle was like really like low key a good guy. You know, I'm like, oh, that's tight.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah, but he wasn't. Like his backstory is like he was like the Fire Lord.
Dark.
So yeah. Anyways, I think that's a good place to end it.
I'm about to go watch that movie. I'm about to go turn it on and go to bed.
No, watch the animated series, please.
Yeah.
Start the animated series. It'll take you like
good. If this was my introduction, you know what I mean? Like awesome special effects.
The series is gonna blow you away.
The series is gonna blow your mind. Yeah, the series you're gonna be like, holy crap, this story is amazing.
I'm gonna search for Avatar and nothing but blue tree people.
That's true. Yeah, that's a topic.
Yeah, that was another.
No, isn't the Last Airbender a Nickelodeon property?
No. I'm one of the few that.
So if it's Nickelodeon, it's not even like Nickelodeon doesn't put their stuff out there. And I know this from Finn, like Paw Patrol. Like I have to like put it on the DVR on my YouTube TV.
But this is inaccurate. It was a Nickelodeon property, but the creators retained rights to it, and Netflix bought them and the rights.
Oh, it's on Netflix.
It's on Netflix. That's what I was saying.
Okay, I was about to say both Nickelodeon properties. You can't just go find like a backlog on a streaming service. You have to go, if you have a DVR or something that has Nickelodeon, you have to go just set it to record every episode and then just slowly collect it.
So if you could take like maybe like a month or so, watch the animated series, then watch the movie again, and to come back and tell us what you thought about the movie after watching the animated series.
I love that movie.
And don't get me wrong, like I like Ryan was just talking smack about Avatar, like the James Cameron movie. I
love that
loved
movie.
Avatar.
Oh,
I
yeah.
watched Avatar like 10 times, and I
Look,
watched it
when
twice in one day.
When Blu-ray, I saw it numerous times in theaters. I thought it was fantastic because, like,
so
I grew up on Fern Gully. You know what I'm saying? So this is live action Fern Gully. Bring it. You know,
Yeah.
I kept calling Natiri Krista the whole time. I'm like, look at Krista. I mean, and the only difference is they ride on the Robin Williams bat in the Avatar movie. That's the only difference between Fern Gully and Avatar. They ride on the bats. That's it.
Yeah.
Besides that, you can't tell one from the other.
Thank you, Serena, for also reading the manga. The manga's awesome. So
Yes.
That's actually my niece, my step niece.
Oh, heck yeah. Well, then she could tell you all about it.
She normally tells me about all kinds of stuff.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And look, my dad just found out, like, oh, that's my granddaughter. They just clicked for both of them. Serena, hey, Pop, for us, I'm assuming.
Wait, so your dad knows about my backyard tree trimming because he said that I should.
He knows about all kinds of things.
Yeah, he's the retired police officer. No details are lost on him.
Okay, got you. Then, yeah, as long as he's retired, I'm good.
He feels the same way.
He feels the same way.
Yeah.
Hello, Pop's Daddy.
All right, guys. Well, I do appreciate y'all being on here. If Becker's catching the rest of this on the rewind, thank you so much for hopping on with us as well. Chris, wherever you are in Canada, whatever that is, I hope your team is losing here in America. I feel like we're going to run into this problem a lot in the next few. How long does football last? Like a few months?
Till February.
Jesus Christ. Why can't he be into competitive putt-putt? You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to worry about that coming on TV. Just I'm just into it, you know?
Go sports team. Sports.
Well, I appreciate everybody who came up in here. And if you haven't already, be sure to hit that like button. And as a reminder, it's been at the scroll at the bottom of the screen the whole time. But if you're interested in joining the channel, wrong one. If you're interested in joining the channel, there is a join button down below. And it gives you access to all kinds of membership perks like loyalty badges, custom emojis, and a monthly giveaway box. A big thank you to all the channel members and all the people that have joined. If you're not familiar with any of those names on the screen, they're sitting up there. Be sure to pause it and go look them up. Most of these guys have content on Instagram or YouTube or both. So definitely give them a follow back and everything. So that's pretty much it for the night, guys. I do have an awesome video coming out.
Oh, you're not going to read all those names?
No, I never promised that one. Yeah, and nobody, like I said, if you want to check them out, hit pause, and those will be there. And you can even go check home videos. You can pause whichever video you want. Those names are present in videos now. But yeah, there's no promise of that in anything. Don't want to let anybody down. But most of those people actually appear on my channel. If you want to talk to them directly or in the chat, they're around. But I might fine tune it or something down the road. Just gotta work out all the kinks. But I didn't try to overdo myself while I try to figure all this stuff out for certain. But
yeah,
awesome video coming out tomorrow. Huh? Yeah,
email mailer that apparently is not.
I thought I had an email blast. I'm like, dude, I'm not that like that. It was a different thing that had the word Legion in it, and he's been assuming it's stuff that had to do with me. He's like, I don't know how you got my personal email, but use this one instead. I'm like, what email?
What's your video that's coming out tomorrow?
It's an awesome video. It's an unboxing video. If you were a channel member, you would have had access to it early because I am figuring that out, the early channel stuff. But while we've been live, I took down the early access and set it to release tomorrow at 7 a.m. It's an epic unboxing. I don't want to give it away. But yeah, you're aware of it, Kyle. It actually came from you. It came from you and from Nick and from War Machine Punisher is the stuff and the people it's from. So if you want to follow any of those people, tomorrow watch that video and their links are in the description below.
Cool.
But yeah. Anything coming up from you guys you want to give a quick shout out?
Yeah, so I'm going to be doing a live review of an unboxing video. And
Is there going to be a drinking game involved in that? That'd be great.
For those that don't know, Kyle specializes in parody content. I'm not saying that jokingly. That's his thing.
and it was just perfect timing. So, no, but for real though, actually Tyler Glass, he's gonna be my co-host, and we're gonna be unveiling the the World Series of Competitive Unboxing.
Oh, awesome.
And we're gonna be breaking down unboxing videos from a sportscast perspective. So yeah, that'll
We
be
got
fun.
Huey that jumped in here at the tail end. What is going on, guys? That is my favorite review show to watch every Friday night at 10 p.m. If you don't know, Blasting and Stashing Comics, that's Huey, Joe, and Mike. They go through the kind of like what we do here, where they go through what they read that week. And dude, that is a fun show. Like those guys are hilarious. They have awesome chemistry, and it's just a fun show to watch. Like it doesn't take long to start hearing all the little jokes and little inside stuff that they got going on. It's just a fun show, man. I found them early on when I started doing YouTube, and I haven't missed the show yet. I think I missed one when I was sick and watched it on the rewind, but that's a great show. Yeah, Miss Sullivan called it. They're the best. They are. Yeah, Ryan, what are you writing and where's it at?
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, you can find it in the link in my Instagram bio, newguy.com. It is, I got stuff there. So enjoy that content. I don't know what I'm going to have coming out this week exactly, but I do know that I'm working tomorrow, so I'll be off on Friday. So hopefully I can enjoy more of the community hangout than usual. So I'm going to try to jump in for that.
Yeah.
So if nothing else, you can see me there.
Fantastic. I'm going to try to see the new James Bond movie before then. I don't know how. I'm definitely not going. Oh, God, you're rich. All right, guys. So we're wrapping it up. That's it for the night. I'm going to head off to bed and get through my work day tomorrow. Again, thank you to everybody who's in the chat. Thank you to everyone's here. And until next time, as always, I'm Mark, but we are Legion.
Legion.